I'd like to thank Potensic for sending this in for review. So this is their latest entry into the consumer drone market. It's called the Atom 2. It weighs less than 250 grams, it takes photos and videos, and it has tracking and some automated flight modes too. So let's see what it's all about. It has very similar styling to some of the older mini drones from another well-known brand. I thought it was going to feel a bit more cheap and plasticky than I'm used to, but no, it feels very well made, and the arms fold out on nice solid hinges. The remote is a rather hefty lad, but again the build quality exceeded my expectations. It feels really nice in the hand, it's extremely solid, no squeaks or creaks anywhere, and it has nice rubberized grips. It really feels good. What's good about this design is that it can accommodate the largest phones out there, and even some of the smaller tablets too. The antenna is compact and swings out to point towards the drone. The joystick gimbals feel pretty nice, not quite as smooth and precise as I'm used to, but still good enough to get the job done. It can capture what they call 8K photos, and here are some unedited example shots. And here are some edited example shots. It has a 1/2-inch Sony CMOS sensor on a 3-axis gimbal, and the gimbal does a great job. No issues with vibrations making their way into the footage. It can shoot in 4K 30, and here are some unedited samples. I find the software sharpening to be a bit too high. This is common on cheaper cameras where they crank up the sharpness to try to make the footage look more impressive to the inexperienced eye, but it can give an artificial look. The weakest part of the camera is the dynamic range. When shooting into bright sun, it struggles to expose the sky and ground at the same time. If I expose the scene so that it doesn't blow out the highlights too much in the sky, shadows get crushed and sometimes the ground goes almost black. I thought shooting in HDR might be the solution, and it does make a slight improvement, but not as much as I'd hoped. This can make sunsets difficult to capture well. Now, having said that, color reproduction and detail are both quite good, and in less challenging light, the camera actually does a pretty nice job. Sunsets might be more of a challenge, but a nice foggy sunrise like this when the sun isn't so intense is no problem at all, and with some very basic color grading, I got some shots I was really happy with. Something else to note is that longer videos are broken up into 3.8 gigabyte files, which is about 6.5 minutes, and it's not a smooth transition between the files, there's a slight jump where they join. It has some tracking features. This one can follow the user. I must say though that it has been a frustrating experience, because every time I use the follow mode, it'll only allow that feature when the gimbal is tilted within a specific range of angles, and it's never the angle that I actually want for the shot. I haven't seen this limitation on a tracking drone before, so it did cause me a lot of frustration, and it rules out the typical follow shots that I like to get, where the drone just follows behind slightly higher than my head. This one can only follow when it's looking down from this angle, and setting up the position of the drone and the angle of the gimbal takes quite a bit of trial and error each time before the system will find the angle to be acceptable enough to let me start recording. Once it's happy with the required trigonometry, it'll follow me from behind as long as I go slowly. If I move up to a moderate cycling speed, it loses me. So it's best to keep to a walking speed or a light jog. To be honest, it's not a feature I'm going to use. It's too fussy to set up a shot, the top speed is too limited, and it's quite awkward to carry such a large and heavy remote in one hand while I'm riding. But I do really appreciate that they tried, and I hope they can remove this angle requirement with a future update. There's another tracking mode which is supposed to keep it parallel to the user, and again there's a specific angle configuration that it must be in to work. I found that within a few seconds it falls back to a more diagonal position. I couldn't get it to actually stay parallel for long. Tracking from the front kind of works, but again there's the fiddly and specific trigonometry required to set up a shot. It has to be at this downward diagonal angle before it will let me start recording, which is not usually the angle that I want to film myself from. And it quickly moves into more of a top-down view once I get moving. So for me, that's another feature that's just too frustrating to be useful. One tracking mode that works perfectly is the orbit. That gives me a nice smooth rotation every time. And another one is where it pulls back and up. That also works perfectly. In an open rural area or over a lake, this will quite easily reach 4 kilometers. In my tests, I only turned back because I was worried about not having enough energy for the trip home, and I still had full signal and a solid video link the whole time. When I got back, I still had 35% battery, so I reckon this could easily reach 5 kilometers on a good day. So range is excellent, at least in a rural area. I haven't tried it in a city where the Wi-Fi is high. As for top speed, I'm regularly getting 50 kilometers per hour. They say it'll fly for up to 32 minutes. I think they may have mixed up those 2 digits because I'm getting 23 minutes of hovering without recording video. And still 23 minutes when flying at a fixed speed of 21 kilometers per hour in a big circle at low altitude while recording at 4K 30 on a very low wind day. So 23 minutes seems to be the max. It doesn't have the battery life they claim, but no drone ever does, and 23 minutes of flight time is equal to or greater than any of the other small drones I've owned, so I'm very happy with that. So far I've had 2 crashes. The first was my own fault entirely. It was my first time flying in a few months, and I'd forgotten how much these bushes had grown out, and I flew at top speed directly into them. Unlike my dog, I feared the worst, but aside from 2 broken propellers, there was no damage done and I was back in the air 10 minutes later, and they give you a lot of spare propellers in the box. The second crash wasn't my own fault. I was coming down to land on this concrete, and when it got to a few inches above the ground, it just suddenly took off sideways at full speed, crashed into this railing, went through here and onto the grass. I don't know why it did that, but again, aside from 2 more broken props, it sustained no damage at all. So this thing is pretty tough. I had 2 occasions where I fully charged the batteries the night before, and when I went flying the next day, one of them gave me a low battery warning after just 2 or 3 minutes of flying. Apart from those issues, this drone has been super reliable. Return to home works flawlessly, the video signal is solid, the app hasn't given me any issues, and the flights are smooth and predictable. So that's been my experience with the Atom 2. It's one of the easiest drones to get up and running, and it's a great option for beginners. I love that when returning home there's no constant beeping. It's also quiet compared to some of the camera drones I've owned. Video quality is pretty good, with the main weakness being dynamic range, but the detail and colors and resolution are all pretty good for a drone at this price, and if we could turn down the software sharpening just a notch, it would be even better. The tracking has potential, but it's a bit awkward at the moment. With flight times of 23 minutes and a range of 4 to 5 kilometers, this is a great drone for fun and exploration, and there's a lot of freedom that comes with a drone from this brand that you don't get with some other brands. And that alone is one reason some people are choosing this over the alternatives. If you found this useful or interesting, I'd appreciate a thumbs up. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.